You and I share this kind of aversion to this word that people use, mixology. In fact, when I suggested this story, someone said, "Oh, you mean a mixologist?" And I go, "Well, you can call it that.
Yes.
I'm not going to."
Yep.
And I think that part of that is, it's like drinking culture for me is very simple. It's like I have some simple sugar, I have some spirits, and I have, maybe some limoncello or something. And if a drink takes more than 3 or 4 ingredients, I'm not making. I'll make an old fashioned. I'll make a Manhattan. I'll make a martini.
Right. Well, and that's the beautiful part to me about like the classics is most of the classics revolve around 3 or 4 ingredients.
Right.
And so that word of mixologist is to me almost even different than the word mixology. A mixologist to me, well, I'll even back up. A mixology is just the idea of putting the right ingredients together to create a really good product. Mm-hmm. That I'm okay with. Mixologist, though, who feels like the need to elevate themselves on top of an already incredible position of bartender.
Well, bartender is like one of those, it's everybody, back in the day, everybody had a bartender.
Yes.
At least back in my day.
Yes.
Well, it's like you'd go to the bar, you would know who was working the shifts generally because we went to bars a lot more often back then than I assume people do today. Now I don't go to bars because I have a nice one.
Absolutely.
And I don't need to meet anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need, but it's different now, isn't it? I mean, it's just like a bar could be a center. Like I imagine this is kind of a center of the community,
mm-hmm.
but what's the difference in the function of bars today?
Well, I think that it's a really big emphasis on being a safe space. To me, bars are the epitome of where do I want to go that is somewhere that I feel comfortable, somewhere that I know I'm going to either be able to meet some friends after work and get a couple of drinks, or I'm going to go by myself and I'm going to decompress at the bar.
Right.
And that's the beautiful part about it is a bar just like this can be a two-way of, hey, we get to have a nice interaction, or I could be set up down at the end of a bar on my phone, needing to decompress by myself. Right. It's so multifaceted, but at the end of the day, it's somewhere that I'm going to go that I know that I'm going to feel comfortable.
And what the bartender's job is not just to serve drinks, but to kind of, watch.
Yes.
Watch over.
Yes.
It's almost like a shepherd thing. I mean, I'm sure that, you're aware of who's alone and who's, not alone, and who wants to be alone and who is looking to not be alone. And you kind of have to balance all that too.
100%. Well, I mean, I always call it having the bartender ear of my ears may not always be turned on, but they're just always listening to different things. I'm listening to what people are talking about. If I could be down at the end of the bar talking with someone, but if I hear out of the one ear, oh, hey, I'm thinking about getting another drink. I'm going to go talk to them, see what they want, see if they need another drink, see what I can't
That's
get
another
them.
thing, if they need another drink. And I would imagine, like in this neighborhood, probably have a lot of walk-in traffic.
Absolutely.
Walk in, and you might treat them a little differently than the people that, have to have a ways to go.
Yeah.
So you're reading the room, and you're acting as the whole old cliche, acting as a psychiatrist.
100%. Acting as a guide, even, of how can I make this experience that you're here having today the best one that you've had all week, all month, all year. Just trying to meet people where they're at.
And you don't have to have a doctor of mixology to do that. It's a different sort of thing. And I really do appreciate it. As it's like sometimes it seems like these days you can't buy a bottle of bourbon without getting a TED Talk.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, chase your bliss, folks. Whatever you want to do is fine. But it's sort of like it's not that simple. It's alcohol. And one of the problems I've always had, this is an interesting, I was thinking about this just this morning, is like, one of the things I've always had with frou-frou drinks is that I've never liked drinks that covered up the alcohol, that just sort of like, but really thinking about it, I mean, sort of, there's something more honest about non-alcoholic drinks, mocktails, as they call them. No, that's another word I don't like, but mocktails.
I truly, me personally, I love a mocktail. Well, I love the idea that mocktails are being more heavily introduced in today's world because not everyone can drink, not everyone wants to drink,
Not everyone should drink.
and not everyone should drink. And so it's the idea of why are those people being subjected to you don't drink, have a Coca-Cola. Have a water.
Right.
People deserve to feel special and fancy no matter what is in their glass. Like, for example, these are 2 sodas that we make here at Moody Brews that are phenomenal. We don't use corn syrup. We don't use any crazy things. We use good ingredients that make a good tasting drink that anyone can enjoy.
Yeah. So, but there is something creative. I mean, you just had the Winter is Coming drink, which is in the Brian Bartel's book.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, which is just let's do a little discussion on it. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
How did he find out about that drink? How did you come up to that with that drink? And what, I would imagine it's really neat. It's like discovering a new color almost.
Well, and what's funny is I didn't even, I'll be completely transparent, I didn't even know about the book.
Oh.
So I read it, and once I read the little article, it all came flooding back to me because what it was a bar patron who at the time, it was a bar patron that came up to me and said, I would like a drink that is not on your menu, that is just something that you feel like making. And genuinely, I love getting that question because it allows my creativity to thrive.
Yeah.
And so I had been tinkering with a drink, and back to your point of, as few ingredients as possible to make it shine, I used bourbon that I had on hand while working at Rocktown Distillery.
Right.
I used Campari, just one of the absolute classics in the cocktail realm. And I used maybe not as big of a classic, but St. Elizabeth's Allspice Dram, just for a touch of extra flavor. But a drink revolving around making, like you said a little bit earlier, making the bourbon shine.
Yeah.
And making its complex flavors come out.
Yeah, and bourbon is an interesting spirit in that it really, it really is as complex as wine in a way.
It is.
I mean, it takes on the same sort of qualities of its environment. It's like wine does terroir. It's and I'm and my degenerate friends are absolutely convinced there's no bad bourbon as long as it is bourbon.
Yes.
As long as it meets the legal qualifications of bourbon, you've got something that's drinkable, that's good. Yet at the same time, there's a big difference between, say, something that's kind of rye based, like a Knob Creek, compared to an Old Taylor, compared to whatever, and I assume you take that into consideration when you're making cocktails, which
Absolutely
is why there's a specific bourbon called for in this drink.
Absolutely. Whether I want that drink to be a little bit hotter, and so I'm going to use a higher proof bourbon. I need it to be a little sweeter, so I'm going to go with a little more corn heavy bourbon. Or it's so interesting that something that sits in a barrel for years is going to be able to come out so different and complex.
Yeah.
That it does require a different bourbon for a different drink.
Yeah, and different vintages, basically. Different barrels taste differently. And it's a fascinating thing. And again, I don't think anybody should be subjected to the cork sniffing sort of aspects of it. But it's something interesting if you're interested in it. Now, what we keep hearing, and I see no evidence of it because I don't go to bars anymore either, is that younger people don't go to bars anymore. They don't participate in bar culture the same way that, say, my generation did. Like in the 80s, we were always in the bars. And that's kind of where we had our social lives. Now people have their social lives very differently. A lot of it's online, a lot of it's digital, a lot of it's this. And I've read things like, young people don't know how to open a bar tab or keep a bar tab going. They don't understand tipping. They don't understand aspects of the whole thing. What's your experience with that?
Yeah, I would say that you're definitely you're spot on a lot of these points, and what I take that as is a way for me to, I think I even said the word earlier of the bartender being a guide.
Right.
Is it's not my place to expect that everyone is going to be on the same playing field when coming into a bar. I've gotten to serve people on their 21st birthday, and I've gotten to serve people, even as my grandma on like her 80th birthday, for example.
Yeah.
And so it's me attempting, not always succeeding, but attempting to always, with every single person that comes into my bar, having fresh eyes and not in any kind of negative way, but just never expecting anything from anyone, so that I can give them the best experience possible.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you create drinks specifically for, say, a demographic, for new drinkers, or for new bar goers, or for is that part of what you're doing? Or
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that I like to try to make drinks for people in the moments that they are in. So I actually like to ask a lot of questions of someone if they're coming to my bar, especially for the first time. What kind of mood are you in? What kind of liquor do you usually prefer? What kind of beer do you prefer?
Right.
What are you looking for from this experience? And then let's say they're in a bright, bubbly mood, having a good old time celebrating. A French 75 could be right up their route. If they're in more of a, I just need to sit here for a little bit and drink one drink, an old fashioned is going to be perfect for you.
I see. So there's almost an educational aspect to it.
There you go.